What
Tell
do
me.
you do when a client is totally triggered on a call?
Great question. That happens to us probably every call, roughly,
Pretty much.
more or less.
If we're doing our job right,
If we're
actually,
doing our job
in
right,
a way.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally. So there's triggered and triggered, right? And I think this is something
Yes,
that really scares a lot of coaches, especially coaches that are stepping into the group space. Because when somebody's triggered publicly on a group call, then they're like, oh my God, I don't know how to handle that. Or if they're stepping into the premium space, because then it brings up all of their own not enoughness insecurities of like, oh, this person doesn't think that they paid me too much and they don't think that I'm good enough. And it brings up all my not good enoughness because I can't hold this space effectively and prevent them from being triggered. So there's triggered and there's triggered.
yeah,
I think that we probably start right there. So, do you want to just help us kind of understand the two different types of triggered? Because we have a
right.
very specific kind of trigger that we
Yeah,
typically invite, in fact, on our calls. We create space for it on our calls. And that's part
exactly.
of what makes it so damn effective.
Yeah. Well, we create a very safe container. So that's the first step is we create this safe container so that clients can bring all the stuff that's hiding underneath that comes up when they are triggered, and then create a safe space so that when it does come up when they are triggered, that we can look at it to see what gifts are there, what messages are there, and what invitation is there for the client to move through. Now, that's different than being a total jerk on the call and making clients feel like crap. That is not what we do whatsoever when we say
No.
triggered. So, just to be clear, this is about a safe container to bring all of it. And actually, really to play with resistance, because that's all those triggers really are, right?
Which is my
Gita loves
favorite. I
resistance.
love it. I
Yeah.
love resistance. It's like my favorite thing. I'm just like, bring me all your gremlins so I can tickle them. It really is like when I think one of my favorite. I don't have a title, so just like people get really hung up on like what kind of coach am I? I need to know what kind of coach I am, and I'm like, I don't know, man. We did pretty well for ourselves, and I still don't have a title, and so clients will sometimes give me titles just for fun. And one of my favorite titles that I've been given is Gremlin Tickler, Soul Whisperer, and Gremlin Tickler. And so when I said triggered and triggered, one is the kind of triggered that we kind of invite and make space for because we deliberately structure our calls and we teach you in our program, like you get to experience it as a client. So you really see how it works. So many of our clients have come to us who previously only had one-on-one coaching that they were doing. And they had such a huge mindset block against, I can never do what I do in group. I could never
Mhm.
create this level of intimacy in a group. And then they come into our program and they're like, oh, not only can I keep some one-on-one because we do a hybrid. Our own program is a hybrid where you have some one-on-one and some group. But not only can you keep that, but you can have a whole different level of intimacy in a group setting where the momentum of the group is just really powerful. So we create space for clients to bring up their resistances and put that resistance on the table. And because we've created a clear culture around this, it it's not the kind of trigger that I think a lot of people are afraid of, which
Mhm.
is that like angry confrontational in your face triggered where a client is like no, or they're like leaning back and they're like this. We seldom if ever see this on our calls because we invite the resistance and we're teammates. So like we're like,
Yeah.
hey client, bring us your gremlin, and then we'll get on the same side of the table as you, and we will tickle this gremlin until it surrenders its gift, whatever it is. Right? There's always something there. There's always something interesting there. If somebody is in that like leaning back, super confrontational space, it does happen. It can happen. It has happened to us. There's no shame in it. Then what you need to know is that the call and in public may not be the best place to address it. Right, Maria?
It's very true. So, like Gita said, there are times where if a client is feeling that trigger and for whatever reason they're just not feeling comfortable, then usually it shows up as a little bit of defensiveness, maybe just some like Gita said, like leaning back with their arms crossed. That is okay. The way that we approach this is how are we going to best serve the client and also the rest of the clients on the call? And in that case, usually the best way we can serve the client and the clients on the call is to have a conversation outside of the group coaching call about whatever's going on. But then there's most of the time what happens because of this container that we create, clients with issues that maybe they had never felt like they could ever talk about in public before, public meaning
Hmm.
like in a group setting, they feel like they can. And one of the biggest reasons is because if they're having this issue, somebody else on the call is having it too. So it ends up being a gift, not just for them to work through, but for somebody else on the call. I mean, that happens. What would you say, Gita? Like
Every
80% of the
time.
time? Yeah, every
Every
time.
time, almost
Yeah.
every time, because like even today we were looking at our call, and in the aha, we have a thread in our private group, our
Yeah.
members only group, where people share their biggest epiphanies and their ahas, and this is the exact same thing we invite you to do from watching these videos. So please share your epiphanies and your ahas, because it helps us see where your mind is, what is landing for you. It helps us create more content to add momentum to what you're already figuring out for yourself, because we want you to be empowered. So it's the
Yeah.
same thing that we do behind the scenes with our clients. And inevitably, one person will have like bared their soul and like put something on the table that has plagued them for years. Where they're like, I dropped out of this other coaching program because I just didn't know what to do with this. And now
Mhm.
this time we're just like, bring it to us. And we will see what's there. Like that, we know there's something yummy in there. And then we'll unpack it, we'll help them see the gift of it. Now they're like free, they're energized. And inevitably three other people on the call will be like, I've had the same problem, I didn't know what to do with it. Thank you so much for asking that question. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that. You're so not alone, I deal with this too. And now everybody's had that breakthrough. And sometimes it's from people who have had the energy of the question but have never formed the question, so would never have thought to ask it.
It's so true. And in fact, that tends to be some of the most powerful coaching because then they get to speak up and say, wow, you gave words to something that was deep in me I didn't even know was there. And so them expressing that helps the client who we initially were coaching
Talking
to
to.
feel
Mhm.
so validated that not only are they not alone, but then their courage allowed someone else to have freedom they didn't even know they were searching for. And this is the process. This is the magic that happens on the EWE calls, right?
Absolutely. And right, absolutely. And it's so juicy. It's great for us as coaches because we're living those transformations with you. It's very nourishing. So you want to not burn out. You want to have calls like this. You want to structure your coaching like this, because sometimes like I'll come to a coaching call and I'm tired, because our coaching calls are often in the afternoon. I'm tired, or I might have a headache or something. And I will typically leave the coaching call healed. Like my headache will have gone away. I'm all like super energized. Maybe my eyes are a little bit zoomed out. True, that does happen. But my energy is like so excited because I'm just like, oh, I can see where this resistance was playing in my consciousness. And now by working on it, because it's outside of me, by working through it with somebody else, I've opened up that space and opened up that energy for myself. So if you're worried about burning out, if you're currently, in that place where you've only got a one-on-one practice, maybe you're a therapist, maybe you've come out of that one-on-one coaching model, and you're just like, there has to be something else because I can't stretch myself any thinner, then use the link around this video, book a call, talk to someone on my team, because you deserve. Every coach that really wants to create transformation is energetically very heavy to create, right?
Mhm.
You don't want to be taking on the full responsibility and carrying your client through a transformation for multiple reasons. Obviously, there's the reason where it's draining to you and you're doing all the heavy lifting, and that just, it doesn't work long term. It's not sustainable. But the real reason is that it reinforces the belief that the client came to you with in the first place, the belief that created the stuckness in the first place, which is, I don't have the answers, I'm not good enough, and I don't have the power to change this. I need your help. You need to do something to change it. If you just give them answers, and if you just give them what they're asking you for, and don't help them see what's really going on, it's going to tank both your confidence, right? It's going to tank your confidence and your ability to sustain the work, and it's going to tank their confidence because they're like, I never have the answer, I didn't think of that, or I wouldn't like, or I did the thing that the coach said but it didn't work for me, or there's all this resistance that's sometimes created. If your client didn't come up with the idea, it's going to be that much harder for them to fully own it.
I would totally agree. In fact, I would say our method of coaching at this level really isn't for everybody because of the
Agreed.
depth at which we go to find what's really going on to move them from the gap into the gain, right? But for if you're watching this and you're like, that is exactly what I have been looking for, then book a call. Find the link around this video and book a call, because this is like a little gift that's being given to you. Like, that's exactly what we do.
Yeah, you don't have to limp along. You don't have to struggle. You can make really great money and empower your clients to do most of the heavy lifting, because the fact of the matter is that lift builds their muscle and their belief in themselves. And then that's a win-win for both of you. Your job is to be their spotter, if we're using weightlifting terminology. You're their spotter. You're the one helping them decide what the weight is for any given set. You're helping them figure out their reps and their form, but they're doing the lift. And not having the clarity of what part of the work is the lift and what part of the work is, designing the program, that's what burns a lot of coaches out. So if that's something that you want help with, our program will teach it to you, not just the theory of it, you'll get to experience it. So it will be experiential learning for yourself. You will get to live it and you'll be like, oh, dang, I see how it works. And I see how it works from a client perspective. So that's going to just quadruple your confidence that it's going to work in your own program. So use
Yeah, and
that
then you
link
get
around this. Yeah. And, and,
and then you
and
get you
come
get
work
to
with
pay
us.
it forward. And you get to pay it
Yes.
forward too, because you learn it and then you get to pay it forward. So that's like the synergistic effect and like the exponential growth of the work. Right, Geeta?
Love it.
Super
Yep.
fun.
Sure is.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for diving deep with me as usual. It's always so much fun. And for those of you watching, book a call and then tell us what is landing for you, because we would just really love to know what is landing for you.
Love it. Thanks, Maria.